Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're outside today with Shadowfax and some chickens, and there's a goat. But we're out here today because we're going to talk about fencing. Chickens. So we're going to talk about fencing for miniature horses. Now you'll notice we have a combination of wire fencing and board fencing. So let's just talk about fencing, because fencing can be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, there goes Shadowfax. He's being weird right now, following chickens. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about fencing. Fencing can be a challenge with mini horses, especially if you're set up for larger horses. Okay, if you keep full-sized horses, or if your property was set up for full-sized horses before you had animals, then chances are the fencing is not adequate for a miniature horse. Okay, chances are you are going to need to modify that fencing. So the traditional horse fencing is like 5 feet high with 2 or 3 boards, and that is more than adequate to keep your larger horses in the pen. More than adequate. However, with those standard type fencings, hi buddy, but with those standard fencings, it's the bottom board tends to be way too high for a mini, and they tend to be they just wiggle out and they leave. So you need to have a miniature sized fence. Okay, you'll notice this is pretty low, so it's miniature sized. You need a miniature sized fence, hi DK, for your miniature horses. If you want to have baby horses, so if you want to have foals, if you want to breed miniature horses, then you're going to have to do even more than this. Because frankly, if I were going to breed miniature horses on the property here, this is too high. Miniature horse would slip under that or jump through here when he's young in a heartbeat. I hear a quail. So it's very important to make sure your fence is adequate for your needs. So the first option you have, and the most common way to contain miniature horses, hi Shadowfax, the most common way is wire fencing, kind of like this. This is fencer wire, and it's attached at one end to the barn, and then it's attached to a tree over here, and it just keeps going. We have some chain link and whatnot. So this is the most common, probably. Ignore that barrel, that's outside the fence. So the mesh, wire or mesh, either or, it's a good option. Make absolutely sure that your openings, so you see these openings, you don't want your horse to be able to stick his nose in there. If your horse can stick his nose in there, hi DK, but if your horse can stick his nose in there, he is slowly going to stretch it out, eventually pop the welds on the fence, and eventually completely destroy the fence. And there's a horse chomping on my butt. Hi buddy. So what you want to do is you want to make absolutely sure he can't stick his nose in there. Okay? You can use chain link as well. So we have some chain link. Just make sure it's secure at the bottom. That's why we have those boards, the wood along the bottom, because then you attach the chain link to it, and then he can't flip chain link up. Because chain link is really pliable. Hi chickens. Chain link is really pliable, and it's really easy for a miniature horse to get under if it's not somehow secured to the ground. So this wire here is not necessarily secured to the ground most of the time, because it doesn't have a lot of flex to it, so he can't just kick it up and go under. Chain link, if you're going to use it, you do need to make sure it's secured to the ground, or yes, your miniature horse, this dude right here, is going to go straight under it and just leave. So that's just a caution if you are using a, hi bud, but it's just a caution if you are using chain link. Just make sure that you take that into account. You can also use hog panels, cattle panels, sheep and goat fencing, as long as he can't get his head or his nose through the gaps, you're fine. And also you want to make sure that at the bottom, so the bottom over here, the bottom of your wire, whatever you use, you don't want him to be able to get a foot in there. Because if he can get a foot in there, he can get caught, he can get tangled, he can break a leg, he can rip up his leg. None of that is good. So you don't want to get into a position where you might have to call the vet and potentially put your pony down because of damage to his leg. So make sure whatever you use, whatever type of wire, he can't get a foot through that wire. Hi, buddy. Yeah. Yes. So someone's going to ask about electric fence. And yes, we're cleaning up all this mess. But someone's going to ask about electric fencing. I don't have it up. I do have a roll of hot wire. Electric fencing, also known as hot wire. Hi, Arwen. There she goes. Buddy. So I don't have it up because Shadowfax is pretty much impervious to it. So can you use hot wire? Yes. You can use it to kind of reinforce. Hi. Following me? Anyway, you can... Butt scratching. That's funny. Butt scratching. Chef X bite my arm. That's cute, Arwen. Anyway, here's Shadow X. But, so yes, you can use electric to kind of reinforce the bad areas of your fencing. You can use it to prevent rubbing on fencing. So if you don't want your goat or your horse rubbing on the fence over there, even though I'm fine with it, but if you don't want that, you can make sure that, hi chomps, but you can make sure that the horse doesn't rub by having some electric wire on there. You could prevent fighting through a fence. If you have, for example, if you're using a fence to separate two minis and they fight through the fence, if you put electric wire on it, they may not. Be warned that not all minis can be controlled with electric fencing. So he's pretty much immune to hot wire. He literally doesn't care. There goes Arwen. So he literally does not care about hot wire. Okay, whatever you try, hot wire does not work on him. So because hot wire doesn't work on him, I don't even have it up now. Because there's no point. He does not respect hot wire one iota. Okay, his hide is so thick, he just literally blows through it. So not all minis can be contained with hot wire. Now let's talk about board fencing, which is what we have because it's more attractive than wire up here. Originally, when we came here last year, we used all wire. Well, we had a chance to put this up. So we are using board fencing. It is effective if your boards are close enough together. Okay? And, ow! Mr. Bitey, man. Mr. Biter. Anyway, he's a biter. He doesn't bite hard. He just mouths me. He's not actually biting. So, it might be chewed. If you have a bored horse, if your horse has nothing to do, this wire can definitely be chewed. This board can definitely be chewed. Okay, so that's one of the downsides of using board fencing. If your horse is chewing at your board, two things you can do. One, give him something to do. Okay, so if your horse is bored, so just like he has a jolly ball and, no, excuse me. Literally a feather just flew up my nose from the chickens. That's fun. Molting season. A feather went up my nose. That was fun. Anyway, so he has a jolly ball to play with, and we bring him out. I mean, I've got lots of videos of him running around, but we bring him out all the time. So he has lots to do. He has a lot of fun. He is not bored. Okay, so if your horse is chewing, see if he's bored. And if he really just likes to chew on wood, consider running a strip of wire right here. Because then when he chews... Thank you. So then when he chews this board, he kind of it's uncomfortable because there's wire there. So if you run just a piece of wire there and he goes chomp, 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 he won't like it very much. You should leave the board alone. He doesn't chew board because he has lots to do. He's not a board horse. He's got plenty to do. So give him something to do. Usually distracts him from the wire, from the boards. So height of your boards depends on what you're containing. Hi, Frack. Yeah, hi. But for him, he's a full-sized miniature horse. We got him when he was a full-sized miniature horse. So if he was a baby, it would have been different. But what we have is our fence board here, 18 inches at the top of that board. Because this is a 6-inch board. So if it's a 6-inch board, that means there's 12 inches underneath. And he is more than 12 inches in the butt. So if he was going to lay on his side and creep under that fence, his butt wouldn't fit. So he can't get out. Then it is 18 inches to the top of this next board. So, well, a little more than that, actually. I think we went 20 inches. So this is just over a foot here. In order for him to get out between these two boards, he would have to step over and have his body fit. His body doesn't fit. So he can't actually do it. Okay, he can't actually get out because he can't slip between that. And he can't jump this because this is just over 3 feet high. This is more than 3 feet high. He can't jump that. Thank you. So he cannot jump this. So he can't jump this and he can't get out between it. So a 2-board fence works perfectly fine if you have it low enough. Because obviously you can use a 2-board fence to contain larger horses, but your boards are just that much higher and your horse can't get out. Thank you. But your miniature horse could. So if you are going to use board fencing, just remember to scale it down. Chicken. But just remember to scale everything down so that you can absolutely make sure your miniature horse is not going to escape. Whatever you are using, you want it to be secure, you want it to be safe, so your miniature horse is not escaping constantly. I know that sounds funny coming from someone who doesn't care if the pony escapes, because I don't care if he goes out there. We're currently adding more fencing, so some of these areas are not entirely closed up, and that's fine for us. That's totally fine for us, because he doesn't go anywhere. But if you have a miniature horse that you are concerned about leaving, you need to make sure your fencing is secure. You also need to make sure it's safe, because miniature horses are still horses, and like other horses, they are prone to disasters. So make sure your fencing is secure and make sure it's safe. That's about it for us here today from Andersen Acres. We'll see you tomorrow.